Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon all of you, my fellow learners, students, and professionals. This video is particularly designed if you're someone who is taking the ACCA Advanced Performance Management, or what we usually call P5 or APM paper. I understand that there are many self-learning students, self-studying students who are accessing the content these days. And with that, because of the work I've been doing with a group of APM students over the past couple of months, and we've been actually focusing more on the writing aspect, I learned certain things or certain common errors and mistakes that I felt like would be a great help at this stage, at this point, to anyone who's going to take the paper. So here's this video, a word of advice and a word of motivation for anyone who's taking an ACCA APM paper, or at times I think it would even relate to anyone who's taking a professional level paper, any paper at all. Let's get to it. Okay, so advice and motivation. I have a word of advice and a word of motivation both. Firstly, let's take a look at the words of advice I have to offer. Number one, especially with respect to APM, but it relates to every paper when it really matters, is please review and understand the meanings of the verbs. You know, when you talk about APM, there are some common verbs. At level 5, there are verb hierarchies in the professional exam setting. And at these hierarchies, the level 5, the highest level, are the verbs that you commonly see in the APM paper. For example, you see verbs like justify, recommend, evaluate, discuss, determine, compare. Right? So these are common verbs that you get to use. Now, one common error, one mistake that happens by knowingly, deliberately, sometimes I think it's due to the lack of understanding, is that when an evaluation is required, some students offer a discussion. That doesn't really help. When a justification is needed, there is no justification. When a recommendation is supposed to be given, there is no recommendation. Sometimes the explanations fall short because you're supposed to discuss something in detail, but the answer is a simple description or an analysis. That's actually very common, especially when it comes to numbers like EVA calculations or ratios or certain performance reporting system or performance evaluations. The evaluation doesn't mean that you're supposed to calculate the numbers and analyze the numbers. It doesn't stop there. Evaluation means you get to go a step further. You have to truly evaluate. But how can you evaluate if you don't understand the meaning of the verb? So this is why my first word of advice is please make sure that you go back to the drawing board and understand the meanings of the verbs. I actually have something to help you on this front, which I'll share with you over the course of the video. The second advice, very important, is apply the scenario. Please, you have to apply the scenario. And what do I mean by this? I talk about this all the time, but the APM paper is not a theoretical paper. So if you push yourself, if you pressurize yourself in a way for you to kind of write what you know or what you've learned within the syllabus, that is not going to give you the results that the examiner expects. Because what happens is they put you in a situation, they tell you there's a company, in this company you're playing a role, you're the performance reporting manager or senior finance manager. They tell you who you are and they tell you we are currently going through a certain problem or certain change. Now, when we do this, there is a certain challenge we faced, and that is your requirement. They put forth the challenge to you. So you have to understand this challenge and write a response. Now, this response cannot be general. So when you talk about, if I illustrate it, if you talk about something like EVA application, and it's all about shareholder wealth maximization, what happens is if you write general points about shareholder wealth maximization, that is not going to help you gain the full marks, because the question is not general. The question is very specific to that particular company and that particular situation and that particular problem, that particular time, that particular circumstance. So you have to truly understand the situation and the circumstance and apply the scenario rather than prioritizing an application of theory. That is where the APM paper is usually, it makes things easy as well, but it's also different to the other papers. Something that is related to this is to be practical in your thinking. So that's actually something that can help you very easily, because a lot of students come and tell me, it's difficult to start writing. It's difficult to start. It's difficult to think or get you going, because what happens is you're approaching the APM paper in the same way you've approached your skills or knowledge level papers. But that approach doesn't work. Like I said earlier, it's a particular company, particular situation. You have to understand the company and the situation and your role. And then you have to understand what the examiner wants. You have to clearly understand it, the requirement. Like if someone comes to you and asks you a question, and if you give an answer that is irrelevant, how will that situation go? Just think about it in your mind. Your friend asks you instructions about how to go from A to B, but you give an answer that is about going from C to D. That doesn't match. So you have to think about what the examiner expects, what the examiner wants, and think practically. Practical thinking, apply that using the scenario without pressure or prioritization of applying theory. Apply practically, think practically, and then write a relevant answer. Now, when you're writing this relevant answer, your theory can help you, your common sense can help you, your logic can help you. That's it. So these are the 3 advices, and I said that I will support you. So if anyone who's watching who haven't really had the chance to go through the verbs or understand the verbs, I'm including a link in the description where it's a link to the G Drive folder where I've included the verb descriptions from the ACCA website. So it's in the public domain, but if you haven't had the chance to go through that, just click on the link and you can get access to the verb list with the meanings, with illustrations and examples, so that you can actually very carefully review it and understand, and you don't have to go through all the verbs. You can just focus on the level 5 verbs. Right. So those are the words of advices I have to offer. Next, a word of motivation. Now, this is important for me because as a teacher, as someone who helps students and learners, for me it's important that I remind certain basics and certain fundamentals. And one thing that when things are close to the exam, one thing that students feel or students go through, students experience, is anxiety. It's this fear of the future, fear of how things will go. Now, anxiety is common, anxiety is normal, right? Every day, even when you wake up in the morning, you have a certain anxiety about how the day will go. So it's a very common phenomenon. It's something that actually helps human beings perform at their best. But this anxiety has to be managed and controlled. One thing that doesn't really help your anxiety levels is worrying about the past. So let's say you have just 1 week or 2 weeks up to the exam, and then you think about the past 5 months and all the times that you were watching movies and having fun and meeting with friends, and all the time you could have been spending on studies which you didn't, and now you regret. But it's in the past. So at this stage, even if you spend a thought that's like 5 seconds of your time, even if you spend 5 seconds of your time worrying about that, regretting about that, that is very counterproductive. It doesn't only waste your time, it also mentally affects your situation. Your mental strength, your mental stability is slightly affected. And when you face challenges like this in life, these are simple matters. You want to be very confident, you want to be very strong in how you face this. So that's why I'm telling you, to manage your anxiety, you have to stop worrying about the past and you have to focus about the future. So if you have 1 month up to the exam, or 5 days or 3 days up to the exam, that's enough time if you use it smartly, if you stop worrying about the past and focus on the available time and give your best effort. So that's something that goes hand in hand, because while on the one end, I'm asking you not to worry about the past, on this end, I'm telling you, you have to give your best effort Let's say you have 3 days to prepare or 5 days to prepare. What is the best effort you can make in these 5 days? That's what you need to think about. So it doesn't mean, like, don't misunderstand, it doesn't mean that you have to, like, work head over heels and, like, just completely give yourself to this paper or whatever papers you've left and stress yourself and not sleep and not eat and just go through a dashing effort in trying to cram the entire syllabus into your head, and then like it's going to end up in a disaster. No, nothing like that. Just remain calm first. Calmly think about how best you know yourself. No, I know myself. You know yourself. Calmly think about how best you can utilize your time here over the next 3, 4, 5 days. Then plan it out and work. However much gets done will get done. But remaining calm is important. You give your best effort so that you're prepared enough to give your best effort on the exam day. That's what we need. And I'll remind you something. The pass mark is 50 out of 100. So you only need to get half. If you actually very tactically plan this, very strategically plan this, which is something that I do with my group of members and students and learners, is we think about how to tactically collect the marks, not rather not just giving our best and trying to get a prize or whatever like that. We just want to pass this paper and get this done so that we get our qualification, we become a professional accountant, and then we move on with our life to bigger, better, important things. That is what we need here. So if you can think practically in terms of what you or how you can collect the marks, which is again something you have to do by remaining calm firstly, then you can easily get this done. So it's about being well prepared enough so that you can give your best effort in the exam day, in the paper. So those are the words of advices and motivation I have for all of you at this point of time. I sincerely hope for you, if you're someone who's self-learning or someone who needed this guidance, I sincerely hope it helped. With a lot of wishes from the bottom of my heart about your exam. All the very best with your exam, with the effort. Just do your best and then move forward without just worrying about anything at all. I wish you peace be upon all of you and all your loved ones. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I'll see you soon.